Hello, in this video, I would like to talk about an article in Physics World, which talked about an interesting geoengineering solution to lowering the level of CO2 in the atmosphere. And that solution is this: using basalt dust as a way of maximizing the surface area of soils in a way of encouraging the natural uptake of CO2 from precipitation, such as rain or snow, into the soils. Now, how this works is the basalt dust encourages the transformation of this CO2 into bicarbonate. Now, this process would happen naturally, but the basalt dust increases the speed with which this process takes place. Now, there are some potential negatives to using dust as a way of minimizing climate change, and that is that the dust could potentially pose health hazards to the surrounding populations. However, I believe this threat could be minimized by using the proper amount of water during this process to reduce the risk of dust exposure. Now, there are an additional number of benefits besides potentially lowering the level of CO2 in the atmosphere that comes along with this process. One of the benefits would be a potential reduction in the acidity of water bodies, as bicarbonate is less acidic than carbon dioxide. Now, if we look at the economic feasibility of this, it turns out that using basalt dust is more economically feasible than other carbon capture mechanisms. Basalt dust is not that hard to come by, especially in volcanic areas where basalt rock is extremely common. Now, although this basalt rock strategy is not as economically feasible as planting trees would be in terms of the cost per ton CO2 removed, it is still more economically feasible than other carbon capture technologies used by industrial facilities. Now, to say that using basalt dust is going to be the wave of the future in terms of how we handle our mitigation efforts to reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. I believe making that claim is a little off base, but I believe this idea serves a greater purpose in that it is very clever, and it is clever ideas such as this that we will need if we have a chance at curbing the level of CO2 in the atmosphere and thus reducing climate change.